Stevens here, the creator and moderator of the WOW series. It is my honor to be here with Kathleen Landy. She's the founder of the Feminist Institute, and she's going to be talking with us today about her personal journey to starting the Feminist Institute and share more about what it is. She is absolutely a pioneer in her work for advancing women, so it's a no-brainer to bring her into this series. And she's also going to be speaking at a March event in collaboration or in connection with International Women's Day on an incredible panel of other current feminist figures and leaders. So Kathy, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thank you, Abigail. It's an absolute honor to be here. And it's great to meet you and pulling together a stellar group of women in March. I'm looking forward to that. Hello, everyone. I'm Kathleen Landy, founder of the Feminist Institute, a not-for-profit organization dedicated to collecting, digitizing, and sharing the rich history of feminist art, humanities, politics, and business. And we're making our archive globally accessible for free.
So incredible. I didn't even know that something like this existed. So when I first got connected with Kathy, I thought, oh my gosh, I could have used something like this when I was younger. And you think about all of the college students, which is like your story, Kathy, which we'll share, who are studying, and we just don't have access to these articles. And then also it goes to show the problem when it comes to sharing the stories and arts and work of female leaders and feminist figures. It's hard to find them. And so I love that you went out to solve that. So we'll jump right into it. And I would love to hear about a challenge that you faced in your career and starting the Feminist Institute. I know the Feminist Institute resulted out of a challenge you were having when searching for these archives. So I'll let you take it away and share with us more there.
Well, I was a scholarship kid in college, and I was trying to write a paper on some of the feminist artists in the West Coast by focusing on correspondence between two of the instigators of the feminist art movement, one of them being Judy Chicago, who you all know. And I couldn't access the information because it was housed in archives in various universities. And I didn't have the funds to travel to those universities to open those boxes and complete my research. So fast forwarding to now, many of those important documents still haven't been digitized, while the archives of equally important male artists have been. So this started as a personal story, which is now, frankly, the story for all of us. We can't travel, right? I look for solutions to challenges, particularly when it comes to inequities in educational positioning. So everyone should have the same advantage when doing research, equal access, right? So the origin of the Feminist Institute is really just based on my own experience. So I identified an urgent need, and we realized that there was a simple solution. Mm-hmm. So we're now acquiring access to archives of feminist practice, cataloging them, digitizing them, and providing access to the information on a free cloud-based platform. So we then hold cultural events to promote this work, like we do screenings, in order to share these rich histories in collaboration with the actual practitioners who are still with us in some cases. It's really critical to do this documentation while many of these innovators are still alive and with us, so that they can tell their own stories and preserve their own legacies. So digitizing this material will allow someone in, say, Australia to research and create their own movements wherever they live, and then create an associated community with that, especially during this time when travel is restricted. So at the Feminist Institute, our particular piece of the fight is gender equality. It comes primarily in our efforts to make visible the work of women in the way that men's work has more consistently been visible. Mm-hmm. There's so much work to do and being done towards equality on other lines too, but ours really focuses on the gender gap specifically. And yes, it does carry to other sectors and disciplines, like Shirley Chisholm's legacy, for example, seems to be experiencing renewed interest. Her documentarian serves on our board and is an example of someone who relied on an as yet digitized archive to tell a story that really needed telling. Or take Muriel Siebert. She was the first woman to hold the seat on the New York Stock Exchange, right? So I think about how hard she's had to fight to get that moment to touch the glass ceiling. And I wonder if my daughters will know who she is. I want to make sure that they do. So
Exactly.
Feminist Institute creates that digital content featuring women and a vehicle to get to it, so that going forward, we make sure that the next kid doing graduate research on a shoestring can utilize that information, build on it, draw strength from it and energy from it to create new scholarship and innovation, which of course we'd love to publish and support.
Absolutely. That's incredible, Kathy. Thank you so much. And what I love, I mean, there's so many things that I love about what you're doing. And I think it's so important that especially my generation and the generations to come are aware of what you're doing, because it's important to know that we have access to it, right? And I think about when I was younger and in my career and as a college student, you know, I was a student athlete and I went to college mainly to swim. And I studied communications and I really liked it, but you know, I never thought about research. I never even, you know, I was just in my bubble, in my world, you know, in Indiana, and just kind of living in it. And I never really, you know, I never thought even that I was a feminist or that I'd be doing something like the WOW series. But I think if I would have known about the Feminist Institute younger in my education, it would have kind of opened up the door to the inequalities that we face and also the work that can be done. And I think it's so important to activists and entrepreneurs and other women like me to learn from the women who have come before them. And having these resources and hearing these stories can be so impactful in actually driving change and thinking of the new innovative ways that we can drive change. And storytelling is so important in that piece, and just having the access to hear the stories of different women. You know, that's why we started the WOW series as well, because we believe in the power of just hearing another woman's story who's come before you, so you can identify with them, you can learn from their challenges, and have that window of opportunity open for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's great that your series realizes that standing on the shoulders of previous innovators it's really necessary to build for the next generation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Exactly. It is. You need women who have paved the way for you. I was just talking about this in our other interview, Which Diamond, which you can also watch. And she was sharing how she was saying, you know, it's heavy to do the work of an activist, she's a woman of color, so she's the one paving that way for the next generation of women who have faced similar challenges that we've had to face. And even starting organizations like the Feminist Institute or even the WOW series, you know, I do feel the pressure to follow up on the women who have come before me and opened up that door for me and continue their work. But sometimes it can be hard when the change isn't happening fast enough. Or you feel like you're pounding the pavement trying to get people to understand why this is important or why they should partner, you know, whatever it might be. It can be challenging, but knowing that other women have come before it, I think is the key to making sure that we keep going.
Right.
So let's get into your advice. So on that note, for women entrepreneurs, professionals, you've gone through this yourself and navigating the challenge in your career when it came to conducting your research. You solved for it through the Feminist Institute, but what is something you wish you could have told your younger self when you were going through this process, and your advice for the next generation of women?
Gosh, I would keep a notebook, digital or handwritten. If you're building something, make sure you have your thoughts written down clearly. And after each meeting, cross your T's, dot your I's. This is good practice, because the next generation is going to need to see what you've constructed. That's a feminist act, is actually creating your own archive. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's my other piece of advice. Each mistake is one step closer to success. And I know that seems totally obvious, but it really took me a long time to learn this. And furthermore, realizing when a partnership isn't working is not an admission to failure. It's just that you haven't found the right chemistry for mutual mission yet. You should always go where you're loved, and you're going to get much farther with your mission.
Oh, I love that.
And also, when you have a passion, always lead with that. It will showcase the integrity of your mission and further your vision without dilutions from competing agendas. Don't get distracted by opportunities that aren't in line with that vision. As exciting as they may be, they're not going to lead your organization to achieve the goals that formed it. If I could start over, I wouldn't get so distracted with some of the high profile projects that never came to fruition because frankly, they weren't within our mission. Another piece of advice, when you get an idea, say it out loud. The best strategy lies in articulating conviction. And my last piece of advice is, if you have a voice, use it. People will listen. And if you have the power to elevate a female voice, do it.
Yes, thank you, Kathy. Those last gave me goosebumps. It's so important. Everything from you said, from creating your own archive, I love that. It's so smart. And saying your idea out loud too. For me, I say it out loud. I tell a friend or I tell someone in my community, and then I'll write it down in my notebook as well too. I think it comes, like you said, it kind of holds you accountable to actually start, even just by speaking it out loud. And using your voice too, this is something that I feel like I've personally just really grown into with the WoW series, and it's something I've always known that was there, but I've never been one to shy away from conflict, but I've also never been one to like shout it from the rooftops when I see something that's wrong. I'm more of kind of like a strategic, like, this is wrong and I'm going to think about this and how I can fix it, and what can I do to drive change here. And for me, I've learned that everyone uses their voice in a different way. It's just important that you use it. Some people are, and I commend people like this because this is not in my nature, but some people are loud and they scream it and they, you know how they feel. And then there's other people like me who, I will never shy away from telling you my opinion, but I'm a bit more like thoughtful about it. Or I'm not going to scream it. I'm going to put it quietly out here in a bunch of different places. But as long as you're using your voice, that's so important. And especially using your voice to elevate the next woman or the woman behind you or to come up next to you. I love connecting with women communities and organizations like yourself, Kathy, who do not shy away from collaborating with other women, but rather are how can we help each other to achieve a similar goal here? And that is so important. So thank you.
Thank you, Abigail, for all you do. It's really important work.
Oh, of course. I'm so excited to see what the future holds for us and for the Feminist Institute. And I cannot wait to have you speak on our panel. And Kathy, it was such a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you. Is there anything else that you'd like to leave our audience with?
No, if you want to sign up for our mailing list, go to thefeministinstitute.org, and you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter.